Coming up on Mississippi Roads, it's all about horses as we visit with carriage horses and their handlers and natches. Take a look at how horse hooves are cared for by farriers and watch the 22nd annual Gulf Coast Winter Classic Horse Show at Gulfport.
Down Mississippi Road, Mississippi Road.
Hi, welcome to Mississippi Roads. Oh, you another one? I'm your host, Walt Grayson. This week, the show is all about horses. You know, at one time, horses literally used to be the horsepower of the world. Now they're kind of like friends and companions. Not that they don't still work. If you've ever been to Natchez, you may have seen the tourists riding in the horse-drawn carriages downtown. But the relationship between that driver and that horse is more than strictly utilitarian. I mean, just the horse pulling a wagon. They're business partners in one sense. And in another sense, they're like best friends. You go, buddy. Come here, come here. You've been good.
I got started with the horse carriages when I was in high school. This was an after-school job for me. And I was just a kid and kind of learned it as I went along. And now it's been about 25 years that I've been doing the horse carriages.
We do everything from weddings, private tours, to bus and group tours. It's a small town operation.
Raise that thing. When we start off on the carriage tours, we park on the corner of Canal and State Street, and we wait for people to come up, and it's about a 40-minute narrated tour that we do. And they'll come up and hop on the carriage, and we bring them around Natchez and kind of entertain them a little bit and give them a lot of history with it.
Natchez is in fact among the furthest points south and west. We started the stables pretty early, preparing the horses, rigging up and getting to the corner of Canal and State to begin our day. I usually use Champ here as more like a service dog to me. Champ is a Welsh pony and a halflinger. Again, these are horses that we get from the Amish, so they're used to pulling carriages and they're used to traffic, and that reduces our time in training and getting them to learn the route. They're bred to pull, and they're doing what they love. You can see he's a little fluffy. I gave him a little too many biscuits, but he's somebody that I would go into a burning building for. But Champ, he's strong as a garlic milkshake. I can put 10 people on here in a disc, and I can disc a 3-acre field. Now, the other horses would probably do 7 acres, and you would probably get tired before Hal would stop.
Hal is a 13-year-old Belgian draft horse. He was an Amish plow horse before we got him. And I trained him, and we've had him about 6 years. He's 13 years old, weighs about 1,800 pounds. He's a big boy. Hal is my buddy. We work together 2 out of 3 days together, and he's just always taken to me, and I've always kind of taken to him. Hal wakes up in the morning, and he eats, and then he kind of mopes around the barn a little bit and messes with Champ, our other horse. He tries to get his feed. And then later in the day, he eats again, and then we bring him to work. Me and Hal, we work usually from 4 o'clock in the afternoon till 9 at night. And at the end of the day, we bring him into the barn, and he gets to eat again. But he gets a lot of treats, carrots, and oatmeal cookies in between. Hal, you want a carrot? You gonna smile for the camera? And give me a kiss. Give me a good kiss. You want the carrot? Give me a kiss. There you go.
They're an important part of the business, and you develop a bond with these horses.
My name is Bob Clem, and this is Clyde over here. He knows every stop. He knows when to stop, and he'll actually cue off my voice. He knows when I get to a certain part of what I'm talking about, whether it's a history or the story that I'm telling. He knows that's time to go. Some of the brick buildings broken down the street. All this brick was brought over by the Spanish. I entertain people all day. Tell them stories. I mean, it's the best job in the world. You couldn't ask for more. Yeah. And I get to work with Clyde. So, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better job, you know. And I get paid for it.
Drivers come and go, and so do horses. After the horse has reached a point that he's no longer able to do his job, they're retired to a small ranch in Louisiana. One of the drivers has an operation over there, and he works with special needs children and young adults, you know, giving them a chance to be close to a large animal. One of the reasons I love my little hometown is all the history that's around us.
We're the oldest settlement on the Mississippi River, and the architecture, the houses around us, there's so many different types. There's so many great stories about Natchez.
Just about every home, building, and church around here has a story to it, and I just tell those stories.
They didn't have the heart to tear it down, so they jacked
And I
it
love
up.
having people from all over the United States come here, and I get to share a little bit of Natchez with them, and they share a little bit of their story with us. Yeah. You get people, sometimes they're having their worst day, and they come ride a carriage, and then their vacation is better. I've had people that's broken down and had flat tires, and they get here, and they get to Natchez, and they're like, oh, it's been a horrible day. And by the time they've left us, they're in a good mood, and their vacation seems to be a success from then on out.
First thing the brother does, he paints that house eggplant purple with pink trim, and the ladies from the Hysterical Society went livid. They stormed down here, they demanded that he painted a historically correct color. What I hope people take away from the tour is the diversity of the region. And the rich history. Now, there was another home that sat on these grounds prior to its construction, Pleasant Hill, and they loved that. We all have stories, both good and bad, and we hope that the more information we have, the better decisions people can make. I just encourage people to think. The state of Mississippi, this is our first Capitol building. We want to be an asset to our state, and we do that by sharing stories and giving people the opportunity to view some of these incredible properties throughout the city.
It is a free museum, but this one unfortunately closed on Sunday.
I can't afford to travel, so I come here and the world comes to me. I meet people from all over the planet. I'm not certain how much longer I'll be able to do this, but it's something that I enjoy, and I will miss it. I will miss this more than I'm willing to say. It's been a great opportunity for me to meet people from all over the planet and to interact with them. So your phone will never be the same. You know, we respect our animals and the history. It's something that we each derive a measure of pleasure from doing.
I love the sound the horses make as they walk along the pavement. You know, that clop, clop, clop. Must be tough on their feet, though. Unless they have a good pair of shoes. Or in the case of a horse, a pair, I guess. But you know, you don't just go buy horseshoes straight off the shelf. They have to be custom-made individually for each hoof. And the person who makes them has a specialized trade. He is a farrier.
I got a friend of mine that he calls this the horse shearers underground because he said this is one of these jobs that you don't really think about unless you know somebody. And, you know, you think of a veterinarian, and sure, everybody has to have a vet for their animals, you know, dogs, cats, horses, cows. Well, for horses, you got to have a farrier.
Farrier is a horse shearer. You trim horses' feet, you trim the excess length off, you balance the foot to their limb and their body, and you can also make and apply shoes to their feet for the job that they're doing.
One of the biggest questions that is asked me is, does my horse need shoes? Most of the time, it depends on what the horse's workload is. Typically, a horse needs shoes if they're wearing more off of their foot than they're able to grow back in a month's time, thus they get tenderfoot.
Tenderfoot is when they wear it down. Tenderfoot is just like if you take a fingernail and cut it off too short, you don't want to touch anything. It really hurts. Shoes are for support and traction. If you're going to be riding a horse on concrete, asphalt, gravel, you put shoes on them to protect that foot. If a horse is going to be out in the pasture, they can get by with just trimming the excess length off of them and not putting shoes on them.
Horses are individuals just like people are. They wear different sizes of shoes. Each job that they're doing requires a different type of a shoe. I mean, it's just like an NFL football player is not going to wear a basketball shoe. Well, it's the same thing it is with the horses. We have to shoe the horse according to what they're doing, whether they're pulling a wagon or whether they're going over a fence, or whether they're running around a barrel. Each one of them is different, and horses, just like us, they have a left foot, they have a right foot. And so when we're shaping shoes and when we're building shoes, we're building them to fit that foot for that horse, for that job.
Horseshoeing is a very inexact science. You don't do everything the same way every time. Because if you shoe two horses the identical same way, one of them is shod wrong. Properly shod horse doesn't cause any harm to it. But if you don't properly shoe one, it does cause harm. To be a good horse shearer, you have to know your anatomy. You have to know how the physical part of anatomy works.
Anatomy is so important to getting the horse's foot as balanced as possible, so it's very important to know the anatomy of the foot. It's very easy to cut a horse too short. You gotta really be paying attention as what you're doing to not hurt these horses. And everything we do is all about the horse. All the studying, the practice at home, it's all about trying to get these horses where they're as sound as we can make them so they can go perform to their 100% ability.
Shoeing horses can be dated back to approximately 2,000 years ago. A lot of folks back then would bring the horse to the blacksmith. The horses were pretty much considered a beast of burden, worked out in the fields, also worked on the wagon trains. We've got the wagon train leaving here, going to do the parade. I mean, that's how they got out west. That was the main form of transportation. But nowadays, the horses are more of a pleasure, more of a hobby. People don't have to have the horse as they did back when my grandfather and great-grandfather were around. So basically what we as farriers, modern-day farriers, are doing is our living is from other people's hobbies. It's not really a dying profession, but sometimes it feels like it'll kill you. But as long as there's horses, there's definitely going to be the need for a farrier.
It's one of the oldest trades that's out there. And farrieing, you know, is very demanding on our bodies, and it's very, very demanding on your back. We try to stay in the best shape as possible, but you get under there and it gets very, very tiring and uncomfortable after a while. And, you know, the horses that typically like to lean and pull on you, and it makes it very, very difficult. That's probably the hardest part of the whole job. When you get done at the end of the day, you want to be done. You are very physically exhausted after a full day of shoeing horses, for sure.
Some horses get used to being shoed very easy. Some horses, you shoe them, they're really happy about doing them. Some horses just are like people. They just don't want anybody around and messing with them. And some of them are, even at 20 years old, they can still be aggravating to shoe. They want to lean on you, they want to bite at you, and they just have an attitude like people. Sometimes if you got a good owner, the horses are real good. Sometimes the owner's attitude's bad, the horse's attitudes can be bad. They're like handling any pet. The more you spend time with them, the better they're going to be.
I don't know really what's drawn me to this. I have no prior background in my family. It's just something that I watched as a kid. The farrier we had back then, I watched him shoe a horse, and I thought that was the neatest thing I've ever seen. And I've always wanted to do it and absolutely loved every aspect of what we do for a living.
I still shoe horses every day, and I enjoy doing it. I've been doing it for 40-something years now. Love what I do every day. You meet different people. We work on all different types of horses, and it's been a great profession for me.
I think the biggest reason why we love shoeing is because of the passion of the horse. We all share that passion and that love for the horse. And everything all of us do is all about the horse. Nothing else matters. We try to put the horse first, foremost in our mind and give him the best we can give him.
Did you know we have one of the best horse shows in the nation right here in Mississippi? It's the annual Gulf Coast Winter Classic. It's held in Gulfport every year. Watching a well-trained horse going through its paces is like watching poetry in motion. And people from all over the nation come here every year to compete and to watch.
Well, the Gulf Coast Winter Classics in a nutshell is a 7-week series of United States Equestrian Federation highly AA premier rated horse shows, which means that you can come here and go for a certain amount of prize money and national points. So we get people from all over the United States to come and hang with us for 7 weeks here on the beautiful sunny Gulf Coast. This will be our 22nd year in operation here at the Mississippi Gulf Coast. So we've been here a little while. I used to do the winter circuits in Florida personally with my own horses, and I also ran horse shows in the Tennessee area. And I thought I could do a winter circuit better, so I asked my friend Bob Bell if he wanted to do one with me, and he said sure, and 22 years later, we're still here.
The hospitality down here is wonderful in Gulfport, and it's a nice show, a nice facility, and typically the weather is very nice.
There's so many things to like about this event. It's a great facility to train horses. There's plenty of land to take a young horse and find a quiet corner and go work that horse into the environment. The management makes you feel very, very welcome here. They go out of their way to cater to your needs here, and the horses seem to like it.
Everything that it takes to run a successful, good show, you have to have everything in place and easily at hand. You think we have to bring in all the jumps, we have to bring in all the feed and bedding for these horses that come from all over, because, you know, they can't bring everything from New Jersey down for 29 horses that they have here. Well, we have riders of all ages and all levels of the sport, from children on ponies to professional riders and amateur riders at the top level. This is the only sport where men and women and amateurs and professionals compete on an equal basis. And they come here from all over the country. We have a big group here from New Jersey, Delaware, New York, Pennsylvania. And then, of course, we have a really good group always from Atlanta and then from Memphis area. And they come here to qualify for national points, and we give out over $1 million in prize money during the 7 weeks.
It There's two types of competition in general. There's the hunter competition, which is a subjective division. You're rewarding the horse that jumps in an exceptional style, the smoothness of pace around the course. Its traditions go back to the hunt field and the qualities you'd look for a horse in the hunt field: manners, movement, athleticism, scope, the ability to jump big jumps. Versus the jumper division, which is totally objective. It's a race, really, and you're trying to jump the fences, leaving them up, and basically within the quickest time allowed. And it's judged by the stopwatch and the whistle, and not by the subjectivity of the judge. The Grand Prix field here is grass. We like to get back out on the grass. It's a lot more natural environment for the horses. They seem to love it. This field in particular is great dimensions. They have good course designers here that utilize the field both as a spectator venue. They try to get the interesting efforts over in front of the spectators, and they understand quite well how we want to develop our horses.
It's considered to be one of the best Grand Prix fields in North America. So you have a hidden treasure here. It takes a lot to maintain it, and this county's gotten really good at that. There aren't very many left because they are so hard to maintain, but they are considered the gold standard. Everybody wants to be on a grass field because it's the perfect natural footing for the horses. Well, the horses, there are some special breeds. In the old days, we always used to use the American Thoroughbred off the racetrack. And then in the past 30 years, the European Warm Blood, which is actually mostly the American Thoroughbred, has become very, very popular. Ours is a performance sport, so it doesn't really rely on breeding as much as that you can perform at the level we need. So you'll see the occasional quarter horse, or you'll see the occasional paint horse. You'll see all different types.
Training horses is all about patience. It's a long, slow process. The best trainers can get a horse to educate themselves without the horse quite realizing they're being trained. You know, it's about communication, and the horse is a very generous animal, and generally if we can communicate what we'd like them to do, they can figure out a way to do that for us.
Horses are pretty special animals, and we love working with them. It's a lot of fun. It's very exciting, and it's the only sport that you kind of have to work with another animal that has its own mind and maybe not always wanting to be a team player. But usually they do, but it's all about the horses. You wouldn't do it if you didn't love them.
I mean, it's a bond of appreciation, really, I think, and you have to appreciate what these creatures do for us and allow us to do. I mean, for a 1,200-pound animal to let us do what we do and think we're in charge is a pretty amazing thing. So I think it's kind of a strong emotional trust bond is really what it is.
But the team extends so far beyond the horse and the rider. The rider is similar to a quarterback, where maybe they're altering the play out on the field, but the planning is done by the trainer and the ground people. The class is won or lost well in advance by the care of the groom, by the support group of the horse. These horses, most of them are bred on purpose to do this. We try to draw their natural ability out to do what we'd like them to do. But they have to be very generous, very cooperative, and really well taken care of before the competition and after the competition. You know, when they get done with their victory gallop, that's when the work really begins. You're gonna maybe stand them in a nice whirlpool or poultice their legs or take them for a hand walk the next morning, and, you know, make sure that you've got a horse that comes off the competition feeling physically very good about himself.
I love it. when I see my field full of spectators up there, and I love the fact that it's families. My famous story is I had some nice lady come up to me and she goes, I love coming here. I have 5 children. They run around, they're tired when we leave, and I haven't had to spend any money. This is the perfect afternoon. And that's how I kind of want to see it. I want people to be able to come enjoy the sport that we love so much. So we think it's a great event and everybody ought to come see it.
Hey, that's it for this show. But if you'd like information about anything you've seen, contact us at mpbonline.org/Mississippi Roads. And make sure you like the Mississippi Public Broadcasting Facebook page. And check out our Mississippi Roads Facebook page, too. Till next time, I'm Walt Grayson. I'll be seeing you on Mississippi Roads.
Mississippi Roads is made possible in part by the generous support of viewers like you. Thank you.